Okay, so here we go again with another early morning episode. It's early morning for me right now. It's about 5 minutes till 5 on December 30th, 2024. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Yep, tomorrow's New Year's Eve. And I've got something special to unbox today. We have a DC Multiverse Doomsday and Superman from Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Look at the spine on that package. They actually decided to do something a little special for this particular set. G'day, Retro Tinker. Welcome to the show. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the packaging artwork on the old Mattel figures, not the multiverse figures, but the movie master figures, whatever they called those. But the kind of 5-inch figures, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the packaging on that. On the back, we have a couple of publicity stills from the movie. Henry Cavill as Superman and Doomsday as himself. So, that's what the top of the package looks like. They did actually bother to design some special packaging for these Batman v Superman figures, and it's not the only one I've got, because I've got, look at this guy, Batman, the Nightmare version of Batman. How cool is that? So he'll be one that I'll be opening up probably sometime this week. But I've got those Justice League Task Force figures that I want to get to first. So this set, though, I'm just too excited about opening this up. I had to do this one before I did anything else. So shout out to my cousin, Amy Negron, if she's watching this. Love you, cousin. This was a Christmas present from her. Technically, what she got me was an Amazon gift card, but the Amazon gift card paid for this. So I'm very grateful to her. She's like the best cousin anybody could possibly ask for. She's like the older sister I never had. All I had was younger sisters, but she's always been like an extra sister to me. So that's been nice. We grew up together. She was probably one of the biggest influences on my life. So love you, cousin. I hope you get to see this one, because this is dedicated to you. I wouldn't have this if not for you. So let's go ahead and open it up. Add a little piece of tape here on the side, and then open it up at the bottom. All right. And there we go. We got a piece of plastic bubble here over the top of the whole thing. There's a lot of packaging to this. And we've got more packaging to talk about afterwards, because I do definitely want to discuss. Oh, look at that. The rubber tab is actually through the bubble. Ugh. Having to cut open rubber tabs before I even get through this thing. On Superman 2? Jeez. Okay. Hopefully that's it. Hopefully I can get it open now. All right. So there we go. And there we're going to get a better look at our figures. Superman has a wired cape. He's coming right out of there. I'm going to go ahead and take him out right now so he doesn't fall on the ground. And Doomsday as well. Those are the only rubber tabs on these figures. How about that? Doomsday is pretty massive. So we'll go ahead and set him aside. And then, might as well put this all back together. Oh, no, wait, I don't want to do that yet, because I've still got accessories in here to go over. But first, I want to talk about the trading card and the figure stands. So we've got some special artwork on the inside liner of this. It's not the comic book art we're used to seeing. It's some special Batman v Superman art, and it looks like a silhouette of Superman standing over the city of Metropolis. And inside the silhouette, you can see that there are more silhouettes of Superman fighting Batman. Batman in his Superman fighting armor, looking very Frank Miller, very Dark Knight Returns. Got the Batman v Superman emblem, the kind of mashup with the Superman emblem laying over top of the Batman emblem. Maybe it's not Metropolis. Maybe it's Gotham City. It could be Metropolis or Gotham City. Metropolis was shown as being very close to Gotham City, as it was in some of the Bronze Age comic books, where they're practically across the harbor from each other. So let's go ahead and get these trading cards off of here. We'll do those first. And the trading cards are not on plastic bubbles. Retro Tinker says that's a super awesome Christmas present. I agree. So very, very grateful to my cousin. All right, so let's go ahead and get this open. Oh, it's still got some tape on there. We'll read the Doomsday card first. So here, with the same picture of Doomsday, it's kind of a dark, shadowy picture of him. You don't really get like that good a look at him on this card. Very short bio. That's what the back looks like, and it says Doomsday, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, real name N.A., non-applicable. Gotham City's formidable, forceful vigilante takes on Metropolis's most revered modern-day savior, while a new threat quickly arises, putting mankind in greater danger than it's ever known before. That is a terrible bio, because it doesn't even really say anything about Doomsday, does it? I mean, I guess he's the great threat they're talking about. That would seem to make sense, but yeah, look at all that space and all the nothing that's on there. Nothing about how like Luthor made Doomsday by cloning General Zod or anything like that. Kind of kind of a disappointment there. Well, let's have a look at Superman's bio, and maybe that'll be a little better. So here we got the same picture of Henry Cavill as Superman. We saw this on a movie poster. It's the same exact bio. The only difference is it says Superman at the top and real name Kal-El, Clark Kent, and then it's just the same bio. So we can't have any background on our characters here. I mean, I know we all know who Superman is. We don't really need to be told who Superman is, but I still enjoy reading those bios. Like, couldn't we read about how he's kind of like been pushed to his lowest point by Luthor and his psychological warfare, but he still came back because he's a hero and that's what heroes do, and he's now facing the greatest threat that he's ever faced in Doomsday and all that kind of stuff. Like come on, that's kind of disappointing as far as the bio goes. So we got two of these figure stands. They're both identical. They're both matte black with glossy black DC logo embossed on them. We're used to seeing these from the DC Multiverse figures by now. And then we've got some other accessories, which first of all, we have this kryptonite spear. And go ahead and get that out of there. And it's held in here by a couple of pieces of tape. So we'll go ahead and cut through those real quick. Shasha. And of course, this was made from a piece of kryptonite that Batman had stolen from Lex Luthor. And of course, he created this as a weapon to kill Superman. But he winds up not killing Superman because they make friends. Or at least become allies. And everybody talks smack about the Martha scene, but I love the Martha scene. I don't care. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a good use of one of the greatest coincidences that ever existed in the history of comics. And people kind of oversimplify it a little bit, and I think sometimes they do that on purpose, honestly. I think sometimes there's some people out there that just wanted to hate on Zack Snyder and came up with the reasons to hate on him later. If I'm being really honest, I think that's the case. All right, so let's go ahead and put this all back together. I'm going to hold on to this box. A lot of the times I just take these and toss them in the recycling, but this is going to be one I'm going to hold on to because this set is special to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it all back together and just put it in my closet for later. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about these figures. And first I'm going to talk about Doomsday because he doesn't have any accessories. He's just a big honkin' action figure. Now, I love this movie. I know that's not a popular opinion with some people, but it definitely is a movie that has its fans, and I think that fan base has grown, and appreciation for this movie has grown over the years. So I want you to know where I'm coming from when I say this, as somebody who Retro Tinker says, at the very least, we got some good memes out of the Martha scene. I thought the movie was all right. All right, so here's what I want to say about this design of Doomsday. Is as much as I love this movie, and it is like one of my favorite modern comic book movies, I do think that they could have done a little bit of a better job with this design, if I'm being honest about it. And I think the problem is that he should be a lot more spiky than he is. I would like to see more of the bony protrusions sticking out of his head and over his face, and the one on the middle of his chest, and you get some of these. You get a little bit of spikiness there, and a little bit of spikiness there, and we've got some spiky plates over some parts of his anatomy. But I kind of miss like the big spikes on the knees and the big spikes on the knuckles. One thing that I never noticed about this design in the movie is that he only has 3 fingers instead of 4 fingers and a thumb. He's just got 3 fingers and a thumb. So that's unusual. I never noticed that before. So for the most part, Doomsday is painted in kind of a bluish gray, like you would expect Doomsday to be gray. He doesn't have any pants. Luthor didn't bother to give him any pants. He's also only got 4 toes on each foot. So yeah, he does have a little bit of, like I said, some bony areas kind of painted in. He looks a lot like the cave troll from Fellowship of the Ring. Yes, that's something that that's a criticism of this design that I've heard before, and I would agree. He Snyder says that this is supposed to be like a baby Doomsday, and he would evolve later, but of course he dies. So I don't know if he was planning on bringing Doomsday back at some point or what, but I would have liked to have seen him as a little bit more of a fully developed Doomsday by the end. Like, I would have been fine if this is what he looked like straight out of the tank, but then by the end of it, like if the spikes had kept growing out of him, and then he had to look really nasty. For the most part, I do think it looks enough like Doomsday from the comics that you can tell who it's supposed to be. I just kind of feel like Snyder should have pushed the design further. And I'm surprised Snyder didn't push the design further, because let's be honest, even if you're a fan of Zack Snyder, he's not exactly a dude who's known for his subtlety, if you know what I mean. Retro Tinker says, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad design. Cave Troll just popped into my head. Well, that's fine. I'm like I'm being critical of it right now. Like, a lot of people will talk about the Snyder cult, and I'm like, cult, you don't really criticize the cult leader. And I guess if anybody would be the cult leader of the Snyder cult, it would be Snyder, right? Well, here I am criticizing him. I'm not going to say he's a perfect filmmaker, but I will say he's a much better filmmaker than a lot of people give him credit for. I'm just saying, I've never seen a Zack Snyder movie that I did not enjoy on some level. I mean, like obviously I like some more than others, but 300 was awesome. Watchmen was awesome. All 3 of his DC Superman movies, awesome. Loved them all. Sucker Punch could have been better, but it wasn't bad, So Dawn of the Dead, good movie. Yeah, I haven't seen a Zack Snyder movie that I didn't like. So he's got a good track record. Hell, Christopher Nolan is a guy who says Zack Snyder is awesome, and I think Christopher Nolan is one of the greatest living filmmakers today. So 300 was badass. I even like the sequel to 300. Snyder didn't really do that one, but I still liked it. I thought it was all right. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Doomsday's articulation. Doomsday can't look up very far. That's about as far as he can look up. He can look down about that far. He can tilt his head somewhat quizzically from side to side, but not a whole lot. Rotate the head all the way around. The arms, of course, rotate all the way around to the shoulders. And while they don't have a butterfly joint on them, they do seem to be the shoulder seems to be set into the torso in such a way where it gives you some ball socket movement. So there's a little more movement here than you might normally get on something like that. His arms can raise up about that far. So not quite all the way, but he's going to be kind of a muscle-bound figure. He's not going to be as articulated as some of these other figures. He has just a single joint of articulation here at the elbow, and it does not even bend a full 90 degrees. Again, this is a figure that's kind of muscle-bound. And it's the joint does look like it has it rotates all the way around, so that's good. So it's a single joint, but it hinges that way and then it rotates all the way around. So you do have some articulation there that's makes up for the lack of a bicep swivel. He does not have a bicep swivel. He's got both of his hands rotate all the way around at the wrist, and both of them have a horizontal hinge, so moves out that way, moves in that way, moves in that way, moves out that way. So pretty good range of motion on the wrists. That's probably like the best articulation I've seen on this figure so far. He's got no torso articulation. This is just a solid torso. He does have waist articulation, which can wobble around a good bit and rotates all the way around. Doomsday can kick up about that far. That's not very far at all. But like I said, big muscle-bound figure. He does have kind of the rubber trunk piece that Mcfarlane figures usually do, and I don't know if it works as well on this big naked guy as it does a character that was actually wearing pants. I do wish Luther had given him some pants. Like, it might have looked silly, but you know, he's a big naked gray guy, and he doesn't have anything going on downstairs to speak of, obviously. But you know, he was created in a lab, basically. So, oh yeah, legs move back about that far. I guess I might as well show that. He's got a single joint at the knee that ratchets, and like with the elbow, it does rotate all the way around that way. This is pretty common articulation for the big figs that Mcfarlane does. He doesn't necessarily put as much articulation into these larger figures as he does into the smaller figures, but I'm kind of okay with it because, like I said, most of these larger figures are, you know, they're kind of you know, muscle bound, and they probably wouldn't be able to move that well anyway. And there's my Aunt June. Hi, Aunt June. I am doing pretty well. I just got home from work not long ago, and I'm opening up what was Amy's Christmas present. So nice to see you as always. Ankle points down about that far. Ankle points up about that far. It does rotate all the way around, as you can see. So pretty decent ankle articulation, and then toe articulation just to show off. Although I would probably rather they put like a hinge at the mid torso than toe articulation. I don't really care about toe articulation. But he's a big, massive figure. I don't think I have any of the other big figs over here to compare. Hang on a second. Let me grab something. I'll be right back. Just hang tight. Not going to be gone too long. I meant to actually bring this over here with me before, but I forgot. All right. So a couple of figures that we can compare Doomsday to real quick. First of all, we have the big fig of Darkseid from Zack Snyder's Justice League, and you see Doomsday is a little bit taller than Darkseid and a bit more muscular in terms of like his mass. So he's a big, massive character, even next to a guy like Darkseid, who is supposed to be like the big bad of the entire DC universe. And Darkseid's got a little bit better articulation too. So moving on to another figure that I thought would be fun to compare is Mattel's version of Doomsday from the comic book. Now this was one that was, I believe, a Matty Collector exclusive. And oddly enough, this one was also a Christmas present from a very good friend of mine who I haven't talked to in a while, but I hope he's doing well. If he manages to catch this, you know who you are. But yeah, you can see that like the Mattel version of Darkseid, the Mattel version of Doomsday, despite being from a line that's like a smaller scale than Mcfarlane, he's pretty massive. He's about the same size as the Mcfarlane Doomsday. And this would be Doomsday like right after he comes out of the vat. This is not a particularly tall Doomsday. He gets like way bigger like later on in the movie, but he still towers over Superman even at this point. So Doomsday is a pretty good figure. If they'd have packed him separately, I probably would have bought him anyway. But let's be real. The main reason I did get good Christmas presents, like both of these are great Christmas presents. So the real reason I bought this set, though, was not Doomsday. The main reason I bought this set was, of course, Superman himself. He is a weird figure. He's a biologically engineered creature that was made to destroy Superman. So yeah, he's a weird guy. Now I think it's well known that I'm a big fan of this particular version of Superman. I'm a big fan of Superman in general. I've loved Superman since I was a kid. By the way, I did get the notice that that they should be getting in my Christopher Reeve Superman figure at Big Bad Toy Store soon. So hopefully it won't be much longer before I can do an unboxing on that. So I'm definitely excited about him. So so yeah, I did have, and I'll compare them later. We'll have a proper comparison. I did previously have, and you can see my unboxing video of that on this YouTube channel, the black version, the Zack Snyder's Justice League version. And I was really hoping that they would re-release it in blue because I do really like this figure, and I would like to have a classic blue and red version of it. And voila, here we are. So the colors, I think, are pretty accurate to what we have in the movie. I think the blue is a bit darker, but it still looks good. The red on the emblem is just great. It's like this brilliant metallic red, looks great. The red on the boots is okay, but I think that the red on the cape is a little dark for my taste. It's still red. I mean, you can see it looks really good on the camera, so, but in person it doesn't look quite as vibrant a red. Now, I do prefer for Superman to have a pretty vibrant red cape. Yeah, the blue version's great. And he's got this wired cape. I love the wired capes, and you can get all kinds of like cool, dramatic poses out of it. Very nice. And it's a big cape. Like, look how it spreads out. I'm not used to the Superman, even with the wired cape, as spreading out. This is almost more like a Batman cape. It's so big. But like, I do have and this is not complete, so don't judge this. I was working on a custom of Nicolas Cage as Superman, the Superman movie that never got made. But I'll go ahead and show him real quick with the way his cape spreads out. You can see that it doesn't spread out quite as wide as the as the Cavill Superman cape does. And do I have the Earth 2 Superman around here? That'd be another one to show off. He had a wired cape. If I can find what happened to him. Because he's not standing in the usual spot. Did he get knocked over or underneath something when I was moving stuff around, maybe? Did I take him over on the other side of the room? He's not over here on the couch because I got like a whole big stack of other Superman figures to look at. It doesn't really matter that much. The point is, he's got a huge cape. That's what I'm trying to say. Do you do videos of your customs? I do have some shorts. Shorts are mainly what I show off customs with. I haven't put any up in a while though because I haven't really done anything in a while. I felt worth showing off, but I'll try to post some more because I do have some older ones that like I could show off. But yeah, you can get all kinds of good dramatic poses out of that cape. This one was pretty much I took the Walmart figure and I 3D printed a head, which I still need to paint. And once I have that done, I'll probably do a short on that one. I kind of felt like that one worked. It looked close enough to what his costume looked like and would have looked like if they had made that movie anyway. With the pictures I saw of the costume were so pretty decent likeness of Henry Cavill. It's the same head sculpt that we saw on the black version. So the paint job looks fairly similar enough. I think that the black version is just a little bit more on the pale side, just a little bit more. And I think that the whole figure is the same. It's just they have this plastic cape glued to this one, and on this one they have the fabric cape kind of stuck in between the neck and the torso, since those are completely different parts. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. Superman can look up in the sky about that far. He can look down about that far. Retro Tinker says, I'm hoping to get started on some Masters of the Universe custom videos soon. And you know I'm a big He-Man fan, so I'll look forward to seeing those. He can tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side, rotate the head all the way around, but it is kind of stiff. There we go. Of course, the arms rotate all the way around at the shoulders. He does have butterfly joints, so the butterfly joints move back about that far and forward about that far. This one seems a little stiff. There we go. I got it worked out. So he does have, arms rotate. The arms move up about that far. All these joints are really stiff on this figure that I've come across so far. So yeah, his arms move up fairly far. Now people are going to criticize me for making Superman into a Christ figure, like like they all criticize Snyder for that, and I'm like, dude, that's been in Superman's DNA like forever. Like that was something they did in Superman the movie. You know, that's why I've sent them you, my only son. Yeah, that's like it's always been there. So yeah, I got a bicep swivel. Man, this bicep is stuck though. It's got a bicep swivel, but it ain't wanting to move at all. This is solid on here. I'm gonna have to hit that with the hairdryer later. It's not wanting to move at all. It does rotate over on the other arm, so that's good. And then we got double jointed elbows. That is about the range of motion we get at the elbows. And then, of course, he's got the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, so the wrist rotates all the way around, moves back and forth, really whichever way you want to, because it's on like that cool ball joint that fits in the middle. Superman, we can see on the figure, does have two solid fists, which I don't mind solid fists on Superman because he usually doesn't use that many accessories. But of course, this Superman does come with an accessory he will have to hold. Don't worry, he's got these extra hands, and we'll talk about those extra hands in a little bit. So, I'm about to throw some hands with Doomsday. Anyway, Superman's got the cool Mcfarlane torso articulation, so he can move around pretty much any which way you want to. Right under the rib cage and right at the waist here, got another articulation, and that one's really tight. So much of this articulation is super tight. And Superman can kick up about that far. He does have that rubber trunk piece that does kind of hinder the articulation just slightly, but it looks good. So, man, I hope I didn't put too much stress on that. It looks like I might have put some stress marks on that. Hopefully that's just lighting. But yeah, be careful with that. But yeah, he can kick up about 90 degrees, so it's not too bad. And then he's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion we get at the knees. And no boot cut, but he does have the cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation. And this is, since this is an older figure, he's got the older style of ankle articulation where it's just kind of round. Roto Tinker says, yeah, I'm pretty sure that metaphor was already fairly embedded. Yeah, like it was something that they, like I said, they did that going into the 1978 Superman movie. The reason that Superman's, baby Kal-El, his spaceship was, rather than a rocket, it was kind of that crystalline star shape, was because it was supposed to look like the Star of Bethlehem. It was an homage to Jesus. So, Superman being almost kind of like a secular messiah figure. I want to give a shout out to this, the costume that Henry Cavill wore in this movie. I liked that it kind of took the Superman costume and tried to make it something a little more real. They had the David Cornsweet Superman trailer, the James Gunn Superman movie, and I just was not too impressed with that costume. I'm sorry to anybody out there who liked it, but to me it looked like they just kind of slapped some Superman stuff onto a motorcycle outfit. So I wasn't really fond of that one. It's like Superman should wear like a superhero type outfit. It should look something like this. And I know a lot of people were traditionalists about the trunks, saying that Superman needs to have the red trunks. And honestly, and if you're talking in the comics, I absolutely agree. I think that Superman in the comics absolutely has to have the trunks. But in a live action context, I kind of found that I didn't really miss him so much, because usually when they were showing Superman in the movie, it was like a shot like this from like the waist up. So you can't even see his trunks anyway. And in the few times where it was like a full figure of him, he was usually like flying around, fighting, doing Superman stuff, zipping through the air or running really fast or whatever. So you didn't really get that much of a look at his suit to see whether or not he was wearing trunks. It didn't really bother me that much. Didn't really faze me. So, and I know some people think the trunks are a little old fashioned, but honestly, I kind of feel like Superman doesn't really need to be like a modern type of character. Superman needs to be a timeless type of character. That's the most important thing. All right, so let's have a look at some of these extra hands. So for the left hand, we have this kind of casual, relaxed hand. This is the one that on the black suit Superman, you can see that he has that hand and a solid fist. And he didn't come with any extra hands. But yeah, we got the kind of the kind of relaxed hand there. And the other hand that we have for the left hand is this gripping hand. That's going to be the most important one. We're going to come back to that in a minute. And then we have this kind of splayed open hand. I like that one, of course. And last but not least, Superman gets a pointing hand. So that's pretty cool. So since I want to have a look at him with the Kryptonite Spear, let's go ahead and get that gripping hand onto him. So the hand pops off fairly easily. And then I can go ahead and take this gripping hand and put it on there. And honestly, I might just wind up leaving this hand on here because it is a fairly tight grip and it looks close enough to a fist. So, you know, I can imagine him like punching somebody with his hand. And this is a very rigid sort of plastic, like Mcfarlane oftentimes has with the hands. So I'm expecting I'm going to have a little bit of a hard time getting this spear into his hand, and hopefully I don't break it. So I'm going to just try to kind of form the thumb around it and just kind of try to roll it in there as best I can. Man, it's tricky though. I really wish that I'm just going to take his hand off. I think that might make it easier. I really wish that they'd have made this hand out of a more pliable kind of plastic, and that would make this a lot easier. But unfortunately, we got what we got. Hell, the spear itself is made out of a more pliable plastic, and that's something that I found kind of annoying with the Mcfarlane figures. That happens an awful lot, more than I would like, is where you've got these the hands being less pliable than the accessory. And damn it, I dropped the hand. Ugh. And guess where it fell? In the big box of stuff. So now I get to go through the big box of stuff again. I just went through this big box of stuff because I was looking for paints. I found it. All right. So this is an extreme case of rigid hand. So I'm going to do something that I don't often do on this show. Something that I actively dislike to do on this show, and that is I'm going to use the hairdryer. A lot of times, if I got to use the hairdryer, that's when you hear me say, I'll just do it after the show. But we really got to see him holding the spear, don't we? I don't know what randomly fell off of my desk, but something randomly fell off my desk and hit my leg. All right, so now that I've got it softened up, this is going much easier. And we can kind of form the fingers and the thumb around the spear. And like I pointed out before, this was well, now it doesn't want to stay on because it's so softened up. Like I'd pointed out before, this is a very tight. Superman's second weakness is the hairdryer. Yeah, it's got a little bit of red sun radiation in it, so that kind of helped with that. But yeah, I did soften up his hand just enough I could get the spear in his hand. Now, I don't think Superman actually held this spear in a two-handed grip in the movie. I think he only had it with one hand. And in fact, I'm going to try to get him into the pose where, like, he's flying towards Doomsday with the spear. Yeah, just like that. And we can get this cape whipping all dramatically around him. Looking pretty cool. And there we go. But womp womp. So even though I got it on his wrist, now it's now since I had it heated up, now the wrist fits on a little too loose. But there he is with the spear, so we can at least see him with that, and he flies towards Doomsday for that final confrontation. And Doomsday isn't quite large enough to be holding Superman's entire torso in his chest like he was with the movie. Actually, that's not the right leg. It's got to be this leg that's kicked forward. If that's a great shot. Look at that. Very cool. So I'm happy with this figure. I'm glad to finally have the blue version of Superman. Oh yeah, if you do want to try to get him into a two-handed grip, there's one way we can do it, and that's to take this splayed open hand. And I pointed out before how I like how like you can uh, use kind of splayed open hands to grip the other end of something. Like it's not like a tight grip, but it still looks like a two-handed grip. So it still works for him holding with two hands, I think, pretty well. So that's pretty cool. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put the solid fist back on him for now. And in fact, I'm gonna hit this with the hairdryer again, and hopefully that'll shrink up the little hole that the post is supposed to fit into. And then next time I try to put it on there, I'll do it after it's cooled off some, and hopefully that won't give me a hard time anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and put these solid fists back on them for now, because those are going to be kind of the default hands. I'm just going to keep that gripping hand on the spear. I think that's going to be the best thing to do. So these are both great figures, and I think that the oh, there's Zazzle's Clubhouse. You're coming in just at the end. Hair dryers are for toys only. Well, in my case, hair dryers are certainly for toys only. there's no other purpose for which I can apply a hair dryer anymore. I wanted to grow up to be Superman when I was a kid. I grew up to be Lex Luthor. So, but yeah, like I said, Superman's the rock star of the set. Superman is the one that I bought the set for. Superman is the one that I'm happiest with, and he's really cool. But that having been said, Doomsday, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I like this figure. So I do definitely recommend this set for anybody who's a fan of this movie, especially if you're a fan of Superman action figures in general. This is a pretty great Superman figure. So that's what we call wave it hair. Wave it goodbye. Hair today, gone tomorrow. uh, yeah, like I'm not complaining too much because my hair wasn't really anything that was worth writing home about. It was always like just kind of like this massive, unruly, curly thing, and I just kind of wish like all the rest of the hair would go away too. If just all of this should just be gone, I'd be fine. Just eyebrows and a beard, I'm good, and eyelashes, so I keep crap from getting in my eyes. But yeah, just like all the hair could just go from my scalp, and that would be fine. I still need to go to the barber. It's getting a little long for my taste. I want to get it shaved back down again and get this beard trimmed up a little bit somewhat too, because like the beard's starting to get a little out of control, and it's not quite white enough that I can be Santa Claus yet. Hopefully, I'll get enough gray in there eventually. I can be Santa Claus like everybody's. Always been my dream anyway. Who wouldn't want to be Santa Claus? Santa Claus is cool. But yeah, these are great figures. I'm happy to have them. Thanks again to my cousin Amy, who this was the Christmas present from her. Really appreciate it. Next time I will be back with the Mcfarlane multiverse, DC multiverse of the Justice League Task Force video game. They made a whole line of action figures based on the Sega Genesis game from the 1990s. I think technically it was on Super Nintendo too, but I had a Genesis. I didn't have Super Nintendo. So that was what I played it on. So I'm looking forward to talking about those figures. So that's 4 unboxings to do. We've got, I'll be starting with the Flash, because he's the one that comes with the torso. And then I'll move on to the other figures. And the Build-A-Figure for that wave is Darkseid. So we've got another Darkseid figure. These are all characters that I've been over before, but I guess when you make DC figures, you keep hitting all the same characters a bunch of times. You're going to do Superman a bunch of times. You're going to do Batman a bunch of times. You're going to do Aquaman a bunch of times. You're going to do Flash a bunch of times. And you're going to do Darkseid a bunch of times. So this will be like my 3rd Mcfarlane Darkseid, I think. And another Wally West Flash. I don't have a Barry Allen Flash except for the TV show version, but I do have a few Wally West Flash. I think it's my third Wally West Flash, fourth if you count Kid Flash. That's four Wally West figures I've opened. Uh, I'm a Marvel guy personally, says Zazzle. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I love Marvel comics too. I just haven't opened any in a while. I got a bunch of Marvel Legends figures though that I need to open. But yeah, I love. I probably grew up reading more Marvel comics than DC because like DC, I pretty much read Superman and Batman, but Marvel, I read everything. So, but yeah, DC, it was mostly Superman and Batman, occasionally like Wonder Woman or Green Lantern or somebody like that. But with Marvel, I was reading Spider-Man. Spider-Man was my main thing. I liked Hulk. I like Captain America. Captain America is my personal favorite Marvel superhero. Read Iron Man, read Black Panther, read Thor, read X-Men, read Avengers, read West Coast Avengers. I read Power Man and Iron Fist. I'm talking when I read Marvel comics, I read like every Marvel comic I could get my hands on. Part of that is also like when I would stay with my grandmother and we go grocery shopping. We weren't grocery shopping at Kroger, and for whatever reason, the Kroger only had Marvel comics. So, and like I said, Spider-Man was my favorite comic anyway. So, Alan, we will have to have you over at the clubhouse for the new year. Well, I always like being invited to things, even if I'm not able to go. I always like being invited to things, but I'll try to stop by if I can, certainly. So anyway, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Superman, both the character in general and this figure, and also Doomsday. Now, see, I remember when I was in high school, that was when the original Death of Superman story came out. And to me, the whole thing, like I'm talking from like, the death is only the beginning. Then there's the funeral for a friend, and there's the reign of the Supermen, and that whole arc, like everything for like over a year. It wound up being like, to me, one of the most epic Superman stories ever told. And it's no wonder they keep going back and revisiting Doomsday. But to me, like I said, Doomsday was only the beginning. It's like the reign of the Superman. That was the really big story with the cyborg Superman and John Henry Irons and Connor. When the all four of the Supermen, the Eradicator and the cyborg Superman. Oh yeah, that was the stuff right there. And yeah, Steel did get a movie. I think it's on HBO Max right now if somebody wants to torture themselves. I felt bad for Shaquille O'Neal because that dude was like legitimately a good Superman, or like a big Superman fan, and then he's got that as a connection with Superman. It's like, oh boy, I get to be in a movie based on a Superman character, and it was that. So, but yeah, Reign of the Superman was awesome. I love Reign of the Superman. So, and like as much as I loved Batman v Superman, because like I said, I did love that movie and loved Zack Snyder's Justice League, loved Man of Steel, loved all those movies. It is. I am a little disappointed that like that does cut down on the chances we might actually see a live action Reign of the Superman movie, since they kind of they kind of skipped that part. But I liked the Justice League movie that they made anyway, so I'm not going to complain too much. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I got to get some sleep, but we'll talk to you later. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.